So after all the controversy and speculation, what is Kenobi? Well, Kenobi essentially takes place sometime after Revenge of the Sith. So going through it very quickly, in the prequels, it seemed that Obi and Anakin had a good bond. Sidious turns Anakin to the dark side, and they have a tragic confrontation. And Kenobi's dealing with the aftermath of that as the Empire has spread out, and a lot of the Jedi are being hunted down by these forces called the Inquisitors. And one of them is Reva, who seems to have a very obsessive vendetta against Kenobi. And a lot of people were mystified as to why she's so angry, why she's so obsessed. And this is mainly non-spoiler, but they do explain it. Apparently the plan is for her to capture Kenobi, bring him to Vader, and curry favor with Vader. And that's probably the place to begin in terms of where Kenobi is good and Kenobi is bad. In terms of continuity, this is raising a few questions. It is complicating things quite a bit needlessly. The old canon was that Leia asked for General Kenobi's help in technically episode 4, and that was the start of that trilogy. But now they're having Leia and Kenobi, so Kenobi has an early adventure with Leia. And some people are saying that contradicts the message we see in episode 4. I don't see a contradiction, but definitely now the personalities have shifted a little bit, because Obi in episode 4 was kind of happy. He seemed to have a very optimistic kind of outlook. Here, he's extremely pessimistic. Now, that makes sense with the prequels, but it doesn't quite make sense with the original trilogy. And this isn't a Disney problem, this is a Lucas problem that when he tried to fit both the prequels and original trilogy together, a lot of things don't really make sense or cohere. So Kenobi has this kind of weird, inconsistent set of tones where sometimes it's very, very comedic and has this kind of goofy side, with Leia being kidnapped by these marauders, apparently working for Reva, and that becomes her adventure, but Kenobi is suffering from these traumatic nightmares, and that's his story. And then there is, of course, Vader himself, who does not appear very much in the first episode, but we do get a cameo of him at the end of episode 2. So there's a lot of different storylines, a lot of little subplots all running around. To me, it seems like they're just padding it out to delay the inevitable big rematch fight between Vader and Kenobi. That said, the acting for the most part is pretty good. I think the setup is very solid. You still have some questions here about what was the plan, because apparently Kenobi is watching Luke and is just going to wait for him to become a teenager, then take him. Again, this slightly contradicts the canon with the prequels, where you're supposed to take somebody when they're very, very young and, quote, train them. And having studied Star Wars seriously, this whole training thing never made sense to me in the first place. I don't really care, but if you are hung up on the training thing, yeah, you're going to ask yourself a lot of little questions about how did this happen? Why is this happening? Why is he even on Tatooine? Was that the goal? I don't know. Where's Qui-Gon? Wasn't Kenobi able to talk to Qui-Gon by now? I don't know about that either. Where's Yoda? So there's a lot of unanswered questions within the narrative, and it doesn't seem like they will address most of them. So maybe we'll get some clarity on a few things, maybe not. But overall, very good episodes. I'm going to give episode 1 a 7.25. Episode 2 gets a 7 out of 10. These are solid episodes. They're well directed, well acted. The costumes, makeup, special effects are mostly pretty strong, especially episode 2. Episode 2 looked really beautiful in terms of the scenery and production sets. Nevertheless, it does feel like they're just needlessly delaying the action to get to the big fight and some big revelations. And I prefer they just get to those instead of just wasting time. Now, in terms of the political factor or the alleged wokeness, I myself could only find one instance of wokeness when they have, at the very beginning, a female Jedi protecting some young students when the temple is attacked. This happened during Revenge of the Sith, but we didn't see it. That felt a little bit too much. Like, why did it have to be a female Jedi? That felt a little bit odd. But besides that, I didn't sense any real wokeness or SJW, feminist, whatever. It just felt like the story was what the story was. It did feel weird to me that Reva just showed up out of nowhere on Tatooine. I mean, they do have hyperspace, but the way she just bounces around the universe felt a little strange. I mean, again, it's a script. there were going to be plot contrivances, but some of the contrivances felt very, very weak. The standout was the Inquisitor. Like, the Grand Inquisitor, I thought was very, very effective. And I hope they don't do what I think they did. So hopefully he will be for the whole series, but we're going to have to wait and see on that. I thought he was actually very effective. A lot of people were criticizing the makeup and things like that, but I thought he was genuinely scary. And I thought that's a very interesting character. The episodes are good for what they are. They're kind of setting up things, but it does feel like they could have just made the pacing a lot stronger. And there's needless jokes at certain points. It's not great episodes, but pretty good. Very above average. I would recommend watching them. And that's it for Kenobi so far with episodes 1 to 2.